Hello and welcome to The Agenda on Politics Social. I'm Graham Hughes and I'm joined by Phil Moorhouse of A Different Bias fame. How you doing, Phil? Are you all right?
I'm all right, yes, thank you.
Good stuff, good stuff. So it's been another mad week in politics. We're going to try and talk as much as we can about British politics because I think on both of our channels we've done American politics, international politics, Gaza, Ukraine, to death a little bit. So I wanted to start off by talking about Rachel Reeves, who hasn't had a great week. Well, she has in a way because the economy did better than expected.
Yeah,
but at the same time, she lied
Reeves
on her CV 20 years ago that she worked at a sweet shop when actually it wasn't a sweet shop. It was a news agent, I think. Something like that. Can you fill us in? What's been going on?
I don't know. So basically, as far as I can tell, so what the media are trying to do is they're trying to say, Rachel Reeves lied about her past. She said she worked, she had this, they did this investigation for the expenses, and you think, so, hang on, did she get sacked for fiddling her expenses? No, I know that was an investigation. You mean someone called into the office and said about your expenses, which happens all the time? Yeah, and they were fine with it in the end, yeah. And then it's like, but she said she worked for this bank for longer than she did. And it's like, well, did she work for that bank? Yeah. Did she work for years at that bank? Yeah. It was a little bit longer. And it's like Rachel Reeves, she's slightly younger than me. She's maybe about your age.
She is.
Bit younger than me.
She's actually 2 weeks younger than me.
There we go.
So
then.
older. She's older than me. She's 2 weeks older than me.
I'm not
we
sure.
would
It
have been in the
matters.
same year in school.
So the point, she's in her mid-40s right now. How many people in their mid-40s, like you might have worked in the same place all your life, but if you've moved about, how many people in their mid-40s, when they write down their CV, are going to get every date right that they started?
Yeah.
I mean, I would struggle, and I'm a teacher, so pretty much the start date's easily it's September, and the end date's usually August. And yet I couldn't remember all of them. And it is important, like if you're going to go into politics, you know that the right-wing media are going to pick up on things. Yes, she should have gone to lengths to make sure it was all perfectly accurate. But this idea that it's like embellished her career, it's like, no, if she'd said she worked for this like big bank and hadn't done, that would be embellishing it. That's the sort of thing people do and you shouldn't do. And we certainly shouldn't expect of politicians. But when you say, I worked for this place for 5.5 years and it was actually 5 years, it's like, that's not embellished. Like, was it the case that Keir Starmer only gave her this gig because she'd worked at this bank for 5.5 years? If she'd have said 5 years, you'd go, oh no, that's not quite long enough.
Yeah.
So it is a complete nonsense. And it's quite funny to read the two sides in the media. So this week with the economic news, which again has been quite good for Reeves, given that the economy is a shitty, it's, again, it gave another. See, what happens is if you read like the mainstream, the Tory media and all the talking points, it's all this misogynistic Rachel from accounts and she's making a right arse of it and she's terrible and all the rest of it. But if you read what actual economists are saying, they're all saying that actually she has got plans to grow the economy. If the economy stalls in the future, it's because we're starting from a low base and there are these massive Trump flavoured headwinds coming our way. But nonetheless, what she is doing is going to, I mean, it's obvious she's building infrastructure. That's what you need. So if you actually read what economists are saying, they're all saying, she has got these plans. They know
Patrick
full well.
Minford, what's he saying?
I don't know what he's saying. I don't know what he's saying for quite a long time. But the ones that you see being reported, whenever there's economic news, inevitably you get the views of some economists and they're all just basically going, we're just sort of waiting for Reeves's plans to come into effect.
Yeah.
Because we know the budget's not in place yet, the legislation's not in place yet. We can't actually judge her work for several years. But of course, you can't expect the public just to sit by because the Tories have been telling them to stand by for green shoots of recovery for 14 years. Yeah. So I get that the public are impatient. But economists are going, this is fine.
We've got a super chat that come in. But first of all, we've got Martin Harrow pointing out that it's not even on a CV, it's on a LinkedIn.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm Brad W there, £5 super chat. Thank you very much. Exaggerating your CV is like peeing in the swimming pool. Everyone says it's wrong, but everyone also does it. You take that back, Brad. I've never.
I've never, to be honest. I don't like any form of dishonesty. But the idea that this is I mean, she hasn't been sacked for doing anything, right? And she has worked in places she says she's worked. And it's not like she got a job in one place and then left 2 weeks later. No, we're talking, she worked there for roughly the amount of time she said. So there's nothing in it. There's none of these inaccuracies. It is. And it's because they know, because they're reading the same economic reports, they know that that what they want is for her to be gone, because if she were to be replaced, she'd be replaced by someone who's less, because there's probably never been as qualified a chancellor as she is. She's actually worked as an economist. Gordon Brown was an economist in that he studied economics.
It's being an economist a real job though, Phil. Isn't it a bit like being a DJ or a YouTuber?
You get a lot more money as an economist if you work for one of the big boys. I mean, sometimes they're both. There are a couple of economists I watch who have YouTube channels. Because you've got to get information from somewhere. So yeah, it's they desperately want her to go because they know that actually she is going to boost the economy. So what they'd ideally like is someone to come in who's not as competent and who has to still do what she was doing anyway, because like it's in the manifesto. Like it's all committed to. Labour can't suddenly change just because they changed their chancellor. They can't, you can't go to the next election saying, oh yeah, we broke our manifesto, but I had a reshuffle. That's not going to wash. So that's why the Tories want to put this pressure on her. And all, if it's working on anyone in Labour, then shame on them, because if they read the economic news, it's all saying, yeah. I mean, I'm not saying every step she's made is a good one. We know there's a few poor political decisions, whether economically or not, but politically. But by and large, she is going to do the job that she was brought in to do.
Yeah,
and the Tories are desperately trying to destabilise that.
Crazy Man in the chat says Molehill move on. Big shout out to Diz in the chat. We also Graham Haller in there. We've got Billy Kershaw, Hayton Puds and others. If you'd like to join them in the chat, just hit the subscribe button, wait for 30 seconds, and you can join in. But don't put anything that's not very nice in there, or we will mute you. So you'll be able to watch, but you won't be able to say anything. We will silence you. You will be cancelled. Don't cancel yourself. It's your own fault. Ian in the chat, Ian McKenna, is pointing out that no economist makes more than Mr. Beast. So there you go.
Not on YouTube. I mean, you would. I mean, it depends what you call an economist. Would you call Warren Buffett an economist? He's richer than Mr. Beast.
Maybe.
I mean, he has to understand economics to be. I mean, he's technically an investor, but he has to understand. He's one of those. He's an investor who actually makes those investment decisions. So he has to understand the markets and the companies he's investing in. Yeah. So he is an economist.
Anne Phillips is saying I've never lied on a CV or in an interview. I mean, I find it very, very difficult to fill out a CV because my career has been all over the shop, and it sounds mad, and it makes it. I feel like you get imposter syndrome. I'm like, can I actually write that I did all this mad stuff on here? But yeah, it's sometimes a question of not what to make up, but what to leave out. Because it's a bit like what?
Well, the main thing I used to tell my students when you're trying to tell them how to write a CV is the bit in hobbies is like they don't want to read that you like sitting watching television with your hands down your pants. That is for you to
socializing.
No, it's for you to demonstrate the transfer of the skills you build up in your own time that would be useful to that job.
Yeah.
So you're supposed to emphasize how you develop skills in your free time. They don't care what your interests are. They care what is of commercial value to them, including in the hobbies section.
Indeed. Well, I mean, how does this sort of all fit into the larger narrative of, accountability and performance of Labour in the first sort of 7 months they've been in government? Because in a way, it's like, okay, we're seeing the same thing that we see all the time at the papers having a pop at anything, because the Labour Party have to be purer than pure, and everyone else, can get away with murder if they're refuck or the Tories. But also, I mean, does this give us hope? The fact that this is so shit, what they're trying to pull as a front page shocking news story. It just reminds me of Angela Rayner's flat. Or Kia's beer, it's like, really, this is it.
Well, the thing, I don't mind when they do things like that, because there are two problems with it. First of all, it goes nowhere because there is nothing in it. But second of all, And they've done this. They've created this environment. People don't actually care. What they care about is, are these politicians going to deliver for them? Now, if you can come up with some story that suggests that they're not going to, then that's fine. But they don't actually care. Yeah. Like, they spent all that time trying to defend Boris Johnson over Partygate. They created the situation where the last thing you were going to be able to do is get people mad that Keir Starmer had a beer while he was legally working.
Yeah.
So it's absolutely insane what they're trying, and I don't mind them trying the shit things. It's when they do something that has that can stick, that can get people to think they're not really doing it. But I mean, Labour are no friends to themselves. I mean, this week, what have they had? We've had, first of all, better economic news, but they're also, they can point to the fact that Nigel Farage and Kemi Badenoch voted against their workers' rights bill. They're introducing workers' rights, and Farage and Badenoch are voting against them. And then we have the news yesterday that the NHS waiting lists have gone down for the 4th month in a row. And this is winter. Like, they go up in winter and down over the... Like, if it was happening over summer, you'd go, it's pissing summer, isn't it? Call me back when they're going down over winter. Well, they're going down over winter. Yeah. And yet, what are Labour choosing to talk about? Are they choosing to talk about NHS waiting lists, or the fact that they're boosting workers' rights, or the fact that the economy is actually doing better than the Tories told you it was going to do? No, they're deciding, they're thinking, this plan of Priti Patel's to video people being deported was a stunning wheeze, let's do that.
Yeah. Because that's not going to alienate their voting base in any way, shape or form. Oh my God.
And it's not going to impress the ones that it does impress. Like, the ones who will go, oh yeah, we like this. It's like, but Nigel Farage is going, yeah, but we'll deport all of them.
Yeah.
And it's like you say, okay, there was a thing on Question Time. There was a fellow on Question. I don't watch it, but I saw the clip about this. Anyone who arrives by irregular methods, by dangerous journey, they called it, but basically they mean boat migrants. Anyone who arrives like that, or in the back of a lorry, cannot, even if they claim asylum and get asylum, because if they don't get asylum, they're deported anyway. But if they do get asylum, so we agree that they have a right to be in this country, they can't ever, in their entire life, no matter how useful they are and how long they stay and how committed they are, they cannot apply for citizenship. And this fella on Question Time asked, so is this policy, which, the Home Office have said this is actually a Tory policy. It's like, yeah, but you're carrying on with it. Yeah. And this fella asked, is that actually going to reduce the number of people who come here on a small boat? Absolutely. And of course, the answer is no, because they're coming here. Yes, some of them are coming because they're trying it on. Those are the people that, where their applications will fail.
They're the people who they'll get chucked out.
The people who can demonstrate they've got a valid claim, they're being persecuted, or their land has been swallowed by the sea, right? Yeah. So, they're not thinking in that moment of peril, I might not get a British passport. They just want somewhere safe to live. Yeah. So, he's right. It's not going to reduce. It doesn't do anything. And it doesn't even win over any voters, because it actively puts off some voters. And the ones who approve of the policy, Nigel Farage is saying, citizenship, we're not even going to let them live in this country. So what? It doesn't work.
I just want to say a big thank you to Darren Christian for the £5 super chat. That's very kind of you, sir. Thank you so much. Back on the screen. Hello. Will Labour have to breach its red lines to raise funds for increased defence spending, or will it increase borrowing? We'll come to that in a moment. Also, the optimistic nihilist, £10 super chat. Any plans to do any collabs, cross-working with other left tubers? Jimmy the Giant and Gary's Economics mentioned Phil's channel as a valuable ally, along with others such as Tom Nicholas, Ordinary Things, etc. Yes. I've just done a show with Marina Perkis and Alex Kerr for the Sunday roast, which will go out on Sunday at 10 o'clock. And Marina and Gemma have just interviewed Gary Stevens from Gary's Economics for their channel as well. So yes, we've got a contact. We've got a contact. So yeah. Hopefully more sort of collaborations like this. This is a collaboration. This is Phil coming over from a different bias and obviously coming over to Politics Social. But yeah, to go back to Darren's question there, will Labour have to breach its red lines to raise funds for increased defence spending, or will it increase borrowing? It's a bit of a trap, isn't it? Because Labour's only been in power now for 7 months, not really had time to grow the economy in any meaningful way.
I can't do anything. You've got three things you can do for the economy. You've got budgets, you've got legislation, and you've got saying things. Now, we know saying things has an impact. Liz Truss demonstrated that marvellously. But all Labour have been able to do at the moment is say things. There's no budget in place yet. That doesn't come into force until April. The legislation the only legislation we've actually got completed is to be able to take rail companies into national hands. The rest, all the big stuff, is still going through Parliament. It's got low, so Labour aren't even going to have their ducks in a row until late this year.
Yeah, but
and then it takes time to feed through.
But the threat of a Trump-empowered Putin threatening the borders of Europe, I mean, this is a real issue that we are going to have to increase our defence budget because...
Well, Tusk has a plan that would mean we wouldn't. That we have a pot, because it would involve borrowing, but not borrowing that shows up in the UK budget. So he's talking about an EU-led, but not just about the EU. It would involve other countries, and it would have to involve the UK. An EU-led pot of collective debt to fund a massive boost to military spending. So, because Poland at the moment has the EU presidency, Poland is at the sharp end of this.
Yes.
So they're highly motivated to come up
know what it's like to be invaded
something.
by...
Well, they do, actually, by basically everyone. Poland, over the centuries, has been invaded by every bugger. Much like we were in the Middle Ages, I suppose. But, but at the moment, they are certainly at the sharp end. They are, of the big countries in Europe, the one... They are certainly threatened by Putin, so they are motivated to do something about it.
Yeah.
And that is an idea. I'm not hearing much talk of it, but they're going to have to do something because I do get it. I did my first video today on it. I get it. It's like defence spending. If it works, people don't appreciate it because if it works, you're not invaded.
Well, exactly.
So you're spending money to not be invaded.
Yeah, it's like anti-terrorism spending. If nothing blows up, no one really thinks about it. Yeah,
exactly. But if you have, which is fine if all political parties understand the need for it. But if you have someone without any scruples who says, "Oh, you're wasting a lot of money on that. Why are you wasting so much money on that? We're not even being invaded, you fools." Then they promise to cut that spending. And that sounds appealing because then they'll say they'll spend it on the NHS. They'll spend it on their mates, but they say they'll spend it on the NHS and win the next election, right? So, we've seen it all before, and that's the problem they have. So they have to have this. They have to have a solution that means massively increasing the amount of defence spending without it looking like you're cutting back somewhere else that an unscrupulous party will say that they would reverse.
Yeah,
particularly one that's funded by Russians.
Yeah, but another point people are making about David Smith makes this point: Labour policy for Palestinians versus Ukrainian refugees disgusts me. Yes, it was fun watching Kemi get beat on PMQs again, but the position is immoral. Agreed that it also won't satisfy Reform voters. I think this is a huge misstep by Keir Starmer to say that they're going to change the law to stop this ever happening again. I think they should go the other way because I think David's right. We're not going to get Reform voters on side.
That is a different issue. On that one, you can. It's unfortunate, but the problem you've got at the moment is you've got a lot of people associating. It's like they'll think, so what's to stop someone from Hamas coming over? That's what they'll think. And it actually, on this particular issue, you can compete with Reform UK because it's an absolutist policy. The reason why you can't compete with Reform UK on the other stuff, like we're deporting some asylum seekers and stuff like that, is because Reform just say we'll get rid of all of them, or they can't have citizenship. Reform just say they can't even live in the country. Okay, but something like this is the same.
But the Homes for Ukraine scheme, which saw 200,000 people from Ukraine be resettled in the UK. They were allowed to apply for that from Ukraine. And one of the things that we were talking about in the early days of the Ukraine conflict 3 years ago was the fact that might be some Russian sympathizers leaving Ukraine, who actually wanted Russia to invade in them. So the idea is that we vet the people before they get here, and we don't offer that solution to anyone except the Ukrainians and perhaps a few Hong Kongers.
Yeah. But that's not what's in people's minds. You try explaining that, because that isn't what people thought about.
How about Labour try and explain it, Phil?
Yeah, but this is the old story, isn't it? This is the old story. They can try and explain that, and every single newspaper, or almost every single newspaper, that all looks like their different voice, independent voice, will all say the opposite. And they'll happily drag out some security expert that says how it can't work.
Yeah, this is why we need Labour to have better comms and also better control over the media.
We need to have better comms, but at the end of the day, they're still one voice. No matter how eloquent they are, they're one voice against what will seem like lots of independent voices that aren't independent, but they'll think they are.
There's lots of people who are genuine independent voices who will support it and say, actually, this is the way to do it.
There's hardly any. There's hardly, name them.
Zoe Gardner.
Yeah,
Stella Creasy.
People don't listen to her. They don't know who they are. Like Zoe Gardner, I mean, she's doing stuff on her YouTube channel, stuff like that, and it's getting like a few hundred views.
She hasn't got the kind of backing that the right have.
Exactly. So she's not being heard.
Yeah, but I blame that on the fact that the left in general.
But she's still not being heard. It doesn't matter who you blame. She's not being heard.
What I'm saying is, if Labour would do something with their comms, so we could have people like Zoe going out and explaining to people very, very eloquently why this is the situation.
So then,
shows and everything, but we don't even have that at the moment. We're not even putting.
Then she's a Labour stooge. She's the same voice as Labour. She might as well be Labour.
Well, she could say.
She can say all she likes, but the press, who are actually just basically one voice, will all
Murdoch's
say.
Voice.
Because you know how it is. I mean, what happened with Sue Gray, right? What happened with that? They found out her son was a Labour councillor, and all of a sudden, that makes sense now. It makes sense now. She was a Labour plant all along. She was undermining the Conservative government. She was a secret mole for Labour. They will just find any link. Now, if Labour are actually funding Zoe Gardner, that's a really easy link to make.
But if this stuff is actually existing and it's out there, and you'll have people, I mean, Zoe wouldn't join Labour, especially after what they've been doing with immigration over the last few months. You'd have people who are on that side. You'd have Femi as well, who would support it and say this is a good thing that they're doing.
But they've not got the voice.
I know, but they haven't got the voice because they can't compete against the newspapers.
It's not. But you will always do that. Labour are competing with the newspapers.
People under the age of 50 don't really read newspapers, so it doesn't have that much of an impact on people who use social media.
They don't. No. Because I did a video on this recently. Who's on social media the most?
Yeah. Oh, old people.
Is? Tell me. No.
It's old people.
No. Who's producing the views? Who's getting the views on social media? I'm going to put my graph up. Let me show you something that I did. Bollocks, can I find it?
Farage has got a million followers on fucking TikTok.
I'm just gonna put something up here. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm gonna have to scan around. It's gonna be a pain.
Okay, I'll come back onto this screen. I have a screen set up for you.
Right. So, hold on. No, don't do that. Sorry, I can't do that. I need to do it bit by bit. I did a video on it, but I'll do it sort of bit by bit. So I did a video which, let me have a look now. So first of all, just political parties on YouTube. Okay. So the red ones are progressive, not always, progressive. So
Phil, if you look at my feed that I'm sending you, you should be able to see that and position it correctly.
I'll just put it there. I'll just put it in front of me. So, and the blue ones are all right wing, regressive. So on YouTube, the political parties, the right wing ones knock the left wing stroke progressive ones out of the park, right?
Wow.
That's just political parties. Mad. Then I can do it for commentators, because us commentators get more views than they do because they're shite.
Can I send these? Can I send these to my contacts in the Labour Party?
I can send the video. I'll put this on there. So there we go. So
can you just I've got shrink that down a slight amount so we can see the numbers on the left. We can't see the numbers at the moment. There you go. Yeah, that's great.
Right. So Got myself different bias, Maximilian Robespierre, Jimmy the Giant, Owen Jones, Navarro Media, Politics Joe. So all do better than the political parties, but they themselves are knocked out of the park by the likes of 2C TV and Black Belt Barrister. And there are others as well, like Michael Heaver and stuff like that. There are others. The right wing, in terms of independent commentators, wins the race. Then, if we start to look at like professional media outlets, I'm going to show this in 2 sections, because again, the scale gets ridiculous. So even if you're looking at like the professionals who get more views than, of course, the independent, and this is the problem you're up against. This is them on YouTube, and they're on other social media platforms, and they have websites and all the rest of it.
Move that slightly so it's in the middle of the page, in the middle of your screen. Right. That's it. Stop. Thanks.
So then you look. So the Sun right up there, GB News right up there. Who are they competing against? The Guardian, Channel 4 News are the main ones on YouTube that get decent views in terms of progressive ones. And they're beaten by the Sun. And this is the Sun and GB News just on YouTube. They are also on other social media platforms, and they have websites that get massive traffic. And even that is not the end of it, because they are but babies compared to the big one. And again, this is all just YouTube. All of these right-wing outlets are active everywhere on the internet. The Daily Mail kicks the shit out of all of them. Now, not all of their content, that's the Daily Mail on the right-hand side. You can't see it because the right is now too tiny. And look at all this. Look at Labour down here. Look at them peasants. And that's the reality of it. Now, not all of the Daily Mail's content is political content, of course, but if when you're on that, you're going to get their political content as well. You know, they're getting 9 million views a day just on YouTube. And that's what you're up against. All of the big views on YouTube. You look at the likes of Jimmy the Giant and Gary's Economics, who get more views than per video than we do. They are not. I mean, why are they? And they're down here. They're pebbles on the beach, and that's because of the money behind it. Because they're on lots of. Because it's like if you're big on one platform and you create another one, you can bring a lot of your audience over to the new platform. They may not come, but a lot of them will. So if you're on all the platforms, you're constantly sharing your viewers around all your other platforms.
The two on the far right there,
GB News and Daily Mail.
GB News first, and then Daily Mail is the last one on that list. You've got the viewers at home can't see that because it's not high resolution.
It's tiny. Because
that is just outrageous. So we've got
that's
Labour
the problem
on the
you're up
left.
against. So the idea that this group down here, that's the furthest on the left, not politically necessarily, but in terms of views, that the idea that this can promote, the idea that this group here can promote these people here to take on these people here. Sorry, it's not happening. There is an extent to which you have to accept that there are some things in the public's consciousness that are there. You can try and move it slowly over time, and they should, and there are things they could do to do that. But the idea that you can just come out and tell the public that they're wrong, because that's what you'd be saying, that they're wrong, will instantly get their backs up.
Yeah, I
there are some things you just have to accept.
But I feel like we're not doing anything at the moment. That was just embarrassing. That graph that you had there, Labour were the ones on the far left with nothing. They haven't put a new video up on YouTube for 2 months. 2 months, Phil. They're not communicating with their voters. They're communicating with their members. Not communicating with anyone. And their comms are absolutely shocking. And if and when Labour lose the next election, it'll be because of their comms.
They won't lose the next election. They're not losing the next election. Ooh. Guaranteed.
Oh,
I'm telling you.
Can we have
guaranteed
$1 million bet?
Even with bad comms, they're not losing the next election. Because although they've got bad comms, they still have very good data analysis. They know who their voters are, and they know what those voters think. The problem that they have at the moment is when you're in government, like when you're in opposition, and all you're doing is building a political campaign. Yeah. So you can get this, you can carry those surveys, do your focus groups, more surveys, have discussions and stuff like that, and then come up with how you're going to utilise that information months later. That's fine. When you're in government, you're having to make these day-to-day decisions, and that's where I think they're falling down. And I think that's where there's a problem with McSweeney being the chief of staff. The reason they got Sue Gray was because she knew how to get stuff done in government. She knew the civil service. She knew how to get things done. That is why Starmer got her in. And then why? Because of a bit of bullying He should have told those people whining about a salary to piss off. And it absolutely destroyed me afterwards when McSweeney's put in place. And I say, he absolutely should have a senior role, advising on Labour's campaign, but he shouldn't be advising on day-to-day government things because he doesn't know it. He doesn't know how to do it. Sue Gray knew how to do it. And, and apparently behind the scenes when journalists were asking people in Downing Street, and they'll go, oh yeah, it's much better now McSweeney's in charge. It's like, no, it's not. You might be happier with him than Sue Gray, who was a bit like me, apparently. She used to rub people up the wrong way. She's a bit blunt. And I don't think they like that. But it's like, but they thought it was much better with McSweeney. It's like, no, it's not. I'm telling you, it's not. Nothing's got better.
Yeah.
Nothing has got better.
Yeah. But I mean, I think that we need to do something to move, because at the moment, Labour are doing nothing with their comms, and the left are not getting any support for YouTube channels in general, and you're getting a lot of burnout. You get a lot of people who are not consistent in their output because they have a couple of weeks where they literally can't make any content, and without having a team behind you, it's very, very difficult. Just having a backup person to do your show because you can't do it because one of your kids is ill or something. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
you need people that have that tick all the boxes and can get lots of views, and you need lots of people like that. I mean, but the problem is that where the money is easiest if you want to push far right talking points, because you watch never mind the big boys, just the independent political commentary. It's all far right stuff. I mean, I keep saying this. I could look again. Me and
Femi laugh about this all the time. Like, if we were on the right, especially Femi, if he was on the right, he'd be a millionaire by now. Doing exactly what he's doing.
Femi could actually make plenty of money now. He's like a monk who's taken a vow of poverty. He chooses not to make money, but yeah, he would find it way easier, definitely.
I don't think Femi's taken a vow of poverty.
He's taken a vow of poverty.
I think it's just
he should do stuff on YouTube.
Yes. Yeah, well, we're talking about that. So hopefully, watch this space. Ivan Ambrose, thank you so much. A couple of super chats from Ivan, 2 of them actually. One of them for £10. The CV stroke LinkedIn stuff is a non-story. P.S. I had great pleasure yesterday with the Tories having egg on their face about the economy growing 1 week after interest rates were cut again. Take that, Conservatives.
Well, this is it. Like the news yesterday on the BBC, I mean, the Tory press wanted today to be talking about the risk of recession. I saw the Standard did it anyway. London Standard tried it anyway. We're facing the threat of recession. Mate, we have to have 2 quarters of contract. I mean, yeah, the economy's knackered. When your economy's knackered, you're always facing recession. Yeah. But you have to have 2 quarters of contraction. We've just had a quarter of growth. Now, yes, that's the first pass. People who follow this all the time will know that in a couple of months' time, they get more figures in and they'll revise those figures. And then in November, they'll revise them further. So 0.1% growth could turn nasty in time. But at the moment, it's growth, which means if there's going to be a recession, we'd not only need contraction this quarter, but next quarter as well. Yeah. So if there is going to be a recession, it ain't going to be announced until like September or something. So, any paper but that's what they all wanted to do today. They all wanted to talk about the threat of recession, which of course would further hit consumer confidence and make it more likely.
Yes.
But they didn't get those. They didn't get that. So they're having to talk about chicken nuggets again.
We've got another chat in from Ivan as well. Did anyone watch Question Time last night? Matthew Godwin was disgraceful with his anti-trans comments. So he was just disgraceful across the board. He was also talking about Ukraine and how we should capitulate to Ukraine, to Russia, sorry, and let them have as much Ukraine as they want.
Did you see? Right. Actually, 2 things. So first of all, Matthew Goodwin is that classic case of someone who saw how lucrative it is being far right. Because he wasn't like that back in the day. He was a genuine academic, right? And he used to actually say things he believed. He is a classic case of someone who decided that adopting a particular stance is very good for your bank balance.
Yeah.
But also, did you see, this is amazing, on Talk TV, a clip?
Julia Hartless-Brewer and
Richard Tice.
taking on Richard Tice, left, right and centre.
I mean, she was badgering him, which I don't really agree with.
No, I don't feel she was badgering him. She was just...
she absolutely was.
She was cutting him off because he had nothing to say. He was floundering. But that clip needs to be shown. I showed it this morning on Morning Brew. And we talked about it on the episode of Sunday Roast that's going out on Sunday as well. But yeah, if you haven't seen it yet, please dig it out. Talk TV, Julia Hartley-Brewer versus Richard Tice, and she just goes to town on him over his.
But this
hypocrisy
highlights something
over
quite
Ukraine.
interesting, though, because that is a big issue. And you saw it on the Daily Mail front page yesterday. It's a bit of an issue for them because it's where they differ from the far right in America. So Ukraine is that they agree with each other on all sorts of things, and that's why it's really easy for the likes of Farage to back Trump on everything. If only we had a Trump, if only we had a Trump for this, that, and the other. But Ukraine is their sticking point. Ukraine is where they could actually be in trouble because the public and this is why the far right papers have to pretend that they are on Ukraine's side. The public, this is one thing where the far right couldn't tell the public what to think. That's why the Conservatives had to swing behind Ukraine, and it's why, Reform UK are they're in a sticky situation over this, and it's where Trump could really cause them massive problems.
And I hope he does. But people don't like Trump in this country as well, which is...
I know, but it means Ukraine being thrown to the wolves, unfortunately. But that could really make it very, very awkward. And this is why you've got situations like, normally you wouldn't imagine Julia Hartley-Brewer, badgering or question, as you would call it, Richard Tice like this in this manner. It wouldn't happen. They'd just be like...
I think that everything she was saying was valid, and she was just...
It was valid. It was valid. And I'm a bugger. I've just done it again. I am a bugger for doing that. When someone says something where I think they're talking shit, I just put it, because it's like in my head, I'm trying to do them a favour by not embarrassing themselves further, so I butt in. But I'm not. I am aware I'm just butting in, and I shouldn't, and I'm not, and I really need to stop. And I don't know whether it's because for 20 years I was a teacher, and if a student started talking shit, I would absolutely stop them where they were. Yeah. And you shouldn't do it when you're actually just having a conversation with someone. So she should have let him finish.
Yes.
But as long as he wasn't waffling on, if he starts talking about something irrelevant, yeah, you cut that off. But I mean, he was getting 2 syllables out and then being shot down again.
Yeah, because the 2 syllables were just... syllables were bullshit. He just could not, because she asked him straight up questions like, would you defend, what would it, how long would you defend the UK for? And he went, till the rest of my life. And I'm like, well, what about... And she said she had to dig about the sovereignty thing. I thought you cared about sovereignty. Oh, that was chef's kiss. Can't believe I'm saying about it.
But that's why it's so difficult for them, because that's where, wherever there's a big difference between the far right in America and the far right in Britain, that is a problem for the far right in Britain, not America.
Yes. Yeah. Understood. But I mean, look, I think this is a shit situation for Ukraine. However, this is going to push, hopefully, Europe into more working with each other over the next few years in to common defence that Trump doesn't give a crap about. And maybe we have been too reliant on just going, it's all right, America will back us up, and one day America's not there, so okay, we need to do this ourselves. We need to stop relying on America to fight our wars and to make our movies and to give us their terrible, terrible food to eat.
Not all terrible.
It is mostly terrible. Optimistic Nihilist, thank you very much for the £10 super chat. It appears that the default course is post-truth demagogy, taking over the UK and Europe in the 2030s with paralysis of the current political class to address people's concerns, fueling discontent. I mean, that's the plan. But we do have platforms that we can all use to get the message out. But we're not using them in an effective way. And we're not being supported by, any kind of left-winger with lots of money, Phil. Can we get some of them? Like Gary? Can we get Gary to fund us?
Yeah, but the thing is...
He's got his own fucking Patreon.
Yeah, but... this is my argument about YouTube specifically. If you've got a message that can get out there, you don't need funding for it. It costs nothing to do YouTube.
Yes, but to actually get people to watch your videos takes a lot of effort and time. Making videos every day, multiple videos every day, it's a full-time job, and
it is. But you can start off. You can start off doing one a week, and you can build up, and the money will build up, and then you can get yourself to the point where it is viable. So that's it doesn't need that. This is why I say if Labour, they could do it and it wouldn't cost them anything.
Yes.
Because the staff they would need, it would pay for itself.
It would pay for itself.
And they could do it quicker because they could build up that audience more quickly because they are already on other platforms. They literally run the bloody country. Not that they should use public money for it, but they are a well-known organisation.
Yeah.
And, but for other people, it takes longer. But, you can do it.
Yeah.
There are people that have done it. And you just have to do it well. Like there's two economists I watch. So one of them is Gary of Gary's Economics, and the other one is a professor. But he has a thing called Economics Help. Now he doesn't get anywhere near as many views, I think, partly because of his presentation.
Yes, that would.
But it's good stuff.
Yeah,
it's good stuff. I like his stuff. Interestingly, he was talking about. He's just done a video on YouTube and how viable it is and stuff like that. And some of the problems he says he has, I think, it's because you're doing it wrong, mate. Like he says it takes 6 hours to edit a video. I think it's because you're doing it wrong, mate.
Do you know how long it's going to take me to edit this video?
This video,
nothing. No editing.
But even you just have to do it really efficiently.
Oh yeah, when I was making TikTok videos, Phil, when I was doing those moments of truth last year, they weren't edited. That was literally, I pressed the button, the intro sequence came on, I pressed, it finished, I did my talk, and then I pressed the button for the outro.
I mean,
that was
it depends what you want as well.
It's
one views just in general or views per video. Like, Jim and the Giant, for example, he does I do 3 videos a day, he does 3 videos a month.
Yeah.
But each of those videos gets more views. My channel gets more views, but his videos individually get more views. So it gets to more people.
Yeah.
And that will be because they're more like documentaries, really. And with YouTube now, so much of it being watched on television, that's quite a good model to go with.
Yeah.
And it is the sort of thing you can also do part-time because you're going to be working on them for a couple of weeks. They have to be quite evergreen. You can't be talking about something that's just happened in the news. So you're talking about something that's relevant today, but not it doesn't have to be of the moment. Yeah. It doesn't have to be of the moment. So they're not going to do videos on like the budget or something like that because by the time it comes out, it's old news.
Yeah.
So they're doing something that maybe references relatively recent events, but not in a way that it has to be right up to date. And you can do that while you're working because what might take you 2 weeks full time might take you 2 months part time.
Yeah.
You can do it if it's evergreen content. You can take 2 months over it and learn your craft and build up that way. So there's lots of ways to do things on YouTube.
We've got another super chat come in from Paul N. £2. What would polling be if a Conservative Reform pact or merger?
It's difficult to say,
but they've done a pact before. They've done a pact before.
Well, this is it. Like Nigel Farage has just been saying again, we're not going to have a pact. We're not going to have a pact with the Conservatives or Boris Johnson. And it's like, okay, so in 2019, you said you wouldn't stand candidates down for the Conservatives and you stood them all down. In 2024, you said you were going to put a candidate in every seat in Britain. You did not. And even some of the ones he did put up, because they didn't attend any hustings or anything like that, there's no evidence that they actually existed. So plenty of paper candidates, even the ones they did put up. So it's like, so he's already lied about what he was going to do in terms of candidate selection for 2 general elections in a row. Why would we believe the next one? But I do believe they don't want to be open about a pact.
Well,
because
Labour and Lib Dem weren't particularly open about the pact that they clearly had in the last election.
Yeah, but they didn't need it. Like it wasn't even a proper pact. It was just an agreement. Yeah. All they needed to know
isn't pact another word for agreement, Phil?
Yeah, but it wasn't a formal agreement. They didn't need. All they had to do was no. But this is completely different to what Reform and Tories would have to do. Labour and Lib Dems weren't competing for any seats at all. No.
Labour put out a list, didn't they, of seats that they weren't really going to do anything about.
Exactly. That's all they needed to do. So you didn't even need we know discussions took place, but they didn't need them. All they needed to do was agree which their target seats were and that they weren't the same as each other's, which naturally happens with Labour and the Lib Dems without any skullduggery. But Tories and Reform are directly competing with each other in loads of seats.
Yeah.
So they would have to be coordinated. But the people in Reform UK, they're big activists, really hate the idea because they're so, politically pure. So you've got the likes of, it doesn't really matter what's his face thinks anymore. I've forgotten his name now. The one who's now gone back to Northern Ireland to talk shit there. He was the deputy. Ben Habib. That's him.
Ben Habib.
So Ben Habib has, what he says doesn't matter. But Kate Hoey's been going on about it. Raoul Braverman, Suella Braverman's husband, he's just defected to Reform UK. And this is what alerted to me in the first place. Last week he was going mental about there mustn't be a pact. And I was thinking to myself, do you know something? Because I haven't heard anything about a pact. But you are starting to get lots of discussions about a pact. And, but there's lots of reform voices, like big reform voices that are really, really against it. So ideally what they would need is a pact that's so secret that basically no one knows about it, apart from Nigel Farage and whoever leads the Tory party into the next election.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the worry is there about the rising numbers of people looking at reform as a viable alternative. In a way, great, split the vote, fine, see if we care. But then another way, Farage is dangerous. Farage is like, he's our Hitler.
But he's also very unpopular. In a recent poll, he came bottom of all the four main political leaders in direct head-to-heads. It was like, who would you prefer as Prime Minister, Keir Starmer or Nigel Farage? Keir Starmer got his biggest lead specifically against Nigel Farage.
Yeah.
Ed Davey, Nigel Farage. Oh, Ed Davey, hands down, we'd have him over Nigel Farage. Kemi Badenoch over Nigel Farage. And it's like, not sure. That was a tie. Not sure. Now, if you're not sure between Kemi Badenoch and Nigel Farage, you don't like Nigel Farage because Badenoch is absolutely crashing and burning. So, she's just told you you're a wimp if you have anything other than a steak for lunch. A sandwich?
I'm sorry.
What do you mean you have a sandwich? Sandwiches aren't real.
That performance at PMQs this week was just unreal. Like because she was so bad, and that she was just reading from her papers and not responding to what he was saying.
Well, that's exactly the problem. She thought he was going to say something different, and she couldn't. She couldn't adapt. She couldn't.
No, she can't.
She wasn't. It's like. She hadn't prepared anything in advance to attack him with, but she couldn't even think of anything on the spot. Like, you give me a prime minister, I don't care which party it's from, and a moment's notice and say, right, you've got to ask them 6 questions. Have I got time to prepare? No, I could come up with 6 questions.
Yeah.
And she only had to come up with 5 because she'd already asked one and not got the answer she wanted. So she only needed an extra 5 questions.
Yeah.
And she'd already sort of planned to have a go at Hester in the last one anyway. So it's like she only needed another 4 questions, really, I suppose. And she couldn't even think of 4 questions.
No.
Bad.
No. And the thing is, obviously, Starmer or his people had done their homework because he had a reply for everything that she said. Like, everything that she tried to
because she's predictable.
And that predictability is
Actually, she's also lazy. Because Starmer will have been preparing for that. Because he gets questions from backbenchers and all sorts, right? So he spends hours preparing for that. So he makes sure he's got the... But a leader of the opposition should also spend hours preparing. Because what they should do is game it. They should say, right, we asked this question. What are they likely to respond with? Okay. And then they work out whether that question is any good or not. She doesn't do that. It's obvious she doesn't do that. But there's even been reports from some senior Tories saying that she is actually fundamentally lazy. She doesn't do the work. She can't be asked with the media work. One Tory, they didn't name this Tory, saying, she sends out people like Chris Philps, and it's like, but people don't know who he is. And that's the thing, when you're in opposition, people don't know, they know who the leader is. They don't really know who anyone else is.
Yeah.
It's different when you're in government because, even then, most members of the public could not name or even be familiar if you read out the names. If you read out 40 names and said which ones are in cabinet,
people wouldn't know. No.
They wouldn't even get 90% of them.
Which when there's these daft stories about Rachel Reeves, there's part of me that thinks actually good. Let's make sure that people know what her name is, so at least people can get that name recognition. Because as Trump has shown time and time again, It's not about your policies. It's not about, doing the right thing necessarily. It's just getting your bloody name out there so people go, oh, yeah, I recognise that. No publicity is bad publicity, as far as I can say.
Actually, if a little bit of advice on that front, if you ever go into politics, change your name by deed poll. Your surname wants to begin with an A, because they have found out the lower, because you're nearer up the list, and for some people who can't be asked and just click it. So there is actually a bit of a correlation between how close your name is to the beginning of the alphabet and likelihood to win. It's pretty good for local elections.
Yeah. Yes.
Be at the top of the ballot.
Yeah. I'm gonna be AA1 from the AA1 party.
Yeah, you do that.
But yeah,
Aaron Aardvark.
Yeah. Yeah. Which, it's not beyond the wit of mankind, humans, to make it so that every candidate on a piece of paper, there's an exact amount of printing of their names and, in proportion. So there's 6 candidates, there's 100 with one name at the top, there's 100 with another, 100 with another, and they just go out randomly. It'd be a bit fairer. But democracy, it's the worst part. It's the worst system, apart from all the others. Ivan, thank you very much for the £10. £20 super chat. That's very kind of you, Ivan. Thank you very much. I've been very kind this afternoon. There is a Labour campaign weekend this weekend. Many disabled Labour Party members, including myself, can't go out on the doorstep, and many of us can't use dialogue for phone banking. Labour has so much ableism. Yeah, Ivan, I completely agree with you. Obviously, my partner Kat couldn't do the phone banking stuff, and if you're disabled and you're physically disabled, you can't exactly go out door knocking. But I'll also say, door knocking is absolutely useless. As someone who's done a lot of door knocking for Labour, hardly anyone answers. You get 1 in 10, maybe 1 in 20 houses that answer. And then, they might just go, what needs doing around here? They go, the cars go too fast. The kids are out on the little bikes and wheelie bins. And it's just the same things. It's not like anyone had a conversation with us about Gaza or about, what was happening.
Yeah, but nor should they.
No, but doorstepping.
Be focused on their issues.
I just don't think it's an effective way of getting your message out. And we'll go back to Labour.
Oh, no. Well, it is very, very useful. It's useful
through a
for
YouTube
canvassing.
channel would be a much more effective way of doing it.
It's not one or the other, though. You can do both.
Do you really think door knocking, knocking on doors?
I think it's useful, yeah. Yeah, I cannot tell you the number of times that I've done it, and I haven't done it that many times, but you will get people go, oh, we don't see the others around here. That actually sort of appeals to some people, because it's like, you're showing that the party's showing that it cares by actually getting out to everyone. On some people, that actually works. Plus, you can canvass opinion, because sometimes you're not trying to push a message. You just want to know what they think, and you want to know.
Well, Vision Thing's saying
they
that
have this issue.
You have to find out where the Labour voters are. Yeah, they've got that on a piece of paper, so it's like this and such at number 56, and they're a Labour voter.
Yeah, but people move.
I'm saying that's the reason why they're doing it. It's a census thing more than anything. I'm talking about the effectiveness of it getting through to people.
Yeah, the problem with that is you're sending people out who have the time and energy to do it, but may not even know what all the policies are, so you can't get to a deep. And the last time I went, I did get into a deep conversation with someone, and I got oiked away by my handler. So they don't want you doing that anyway.
Exactly. Whereas YouTube, I think you're right. There's no reason why you can't have, both of them at the same time. But I think sort of restructuring things. I think about having weekly meetings on YouTube, like with the chat. And it's, members only, or, we make sure that the only people who can join the chat are people who are constituents in our constituency. And we get to we have a conversation with the MP about what's been happening in Parliament, what they feel about this, different stuff. And we can field questions. And the local area can add what they want to say into the side of the picture, like we do on this channel. But that to me seems like an absolute no-brainer. And it would be less ableist than even having a.
They should certainly be. I mean, they should certainly be using social media, and they're not at all. They're absolutely not using it.
Yeah.
And I don't know why.
I think they just don't see any value in it.
They clearly don't. But I don't know why they don't see the value in it. I don't understand why that is.
I was told straight up that they don't do, what's it called? This sort of thing. What's it called? They don't do YouTube. Because it's no one watches it.
everyone watches it. It's like YouTube.
No one watches their
is
videos.
The most, yeah, that's because they're shite. YouTube is in America at least, I don't know what the British figures are, it is the most watched streaming channel. It's more than Netflix, way more than Netflix, views it gets in America. I can't imagine it's different in the UK. And that's just for the people watching it on television. You know, and there's only about a quarter of people who watch YouTube watch it on the television, but that's still a lot.
Yep.
So YouTube is massive, and it's their absolute.
It's on everyone's phone, everyone's telly,
morons.
everyone's laptop.
And I tell you what I find odd, because when I first started doing the political stuff, I thought to myself that my sort of premium time would be the weekend where people aren't at work and stuff like that. You actually find people tend to watch it most when it's supposed to be during work days. Now, for some reason, that is because a lot of people who are politically engaged are elderly.
Yeah.
So it'll be the same for everyone, but over half of all my viewers are 55 or older. But partly it's because some people are just watching it in their break at work.
Yeah.
I actually notice during like school holiday times, you don't get as many views.
Yeah.
It's a doubt because people are watching it at work.
Yeah. You should be work. Get back to work. No, I'm joking. Don't get back to work. Keep watching. We got a super chat coming from Arctic Bear. Thank you very much for that. That's very kind of you. I appreciated my Labour candidate who came to knock on my door. Seemed they cared. Yeah, absolutely. And then we've got number 3 saying, what are the best ways to change people's minds? But just talking about door knocking, I just think, I understand why it's done. And I understand that, it makes people feel like, oh, wow, the candidate bothered to come round. And that's been said to me a lot. I haven't seen anyone else, apart from Refuck, actually. The Refuck party were around here in Durham. But the Lib Dems, people were saying they weren't anywhere to be seen. And obviously Conservatives aren't very big around these parts. I think that building those communities in a way that everyone feels like they're having their views, a facility for putting their views across in a way that isn't ableist, a way that obviously having subtitles on this show, you can have subtitles, you can have people communicating, it's a two-way street, it's interactive. The platform is there, YouTube is there, and the fact that these MPs aren't using it, I think is just, it's painful. Got one more.
Do you know what's coming?
What?
Do you know what's coming on YouTube this year?
What?
Dubbing into other languages.
No. Absolutely not.
It is.
I hate dubbing.
You'll be able to choose. You don't have to.
Yeah, I don't have to.
You can click on it to get more of an international audience.
Yeah, I don't think we'll get much of an
hilarious. I want to see what I sound like in German. I like the German Popeye when I was a kid.
I hate dubbing.
His laugh is brilliant.
Dubbing like really.
Well, yeah, but nonetheless, but if you've got like an international audience anyway, they're snookered unless they want to read it or they can understand English.
Dubbing just reminds me of terrible
if they
adverts
just want to listen to it
from the 80s where they made one advert for the whole of Europe and they just dubbed it into different languages. Yeah. He's going to love your onion breath. Anyway, Optimistic Nihilist, thank you very much for the £10 super chat there. DM25 are looking to set up a political party in the UK. They are a political movement led by Yanis Varoufakis, looking to shift the discourse back to the left. They are present in EU elections also.
Can we stop having morons representing the left? It's why we're not taken seriously.
Tell us what you really think, Phil.
Oh, ow.
Jup James saying Graham doesn't want to be dubbed into proper English. Yeah, I get that. No, I was talking to Alex actually after the show that we just recorded, because he's obviously part of Rejoin EU, and I agree with their stated aim of rejoining the EU, but I just think, what's the point? It just seems to be spending a lot of money to come last in a and everyone loses their deposits.
Exactly. And in a tight contest, they insist they don't take part in tight contests, but in a tight contest, the best you can do is help the Tories win.
Yeah. So what is it?
You'd be better off as a non-partisan campaign. You'd be better off.
Yeah.
As a
infiltrating the Labour Party and manipulating
infiltrate the pissing Conservative Party.
Infiltrate the Conservative Party and manipulate it from within. That's what I meant.
Labour Party already wants to go back into Europe. The Lexiteers are gone. They joined the Greens. And then the Greens decided to join the EU anyway.
And the Greens are very much against pylons and having cables that people can see in the air. They want them buried underground. And do you know who agrees with them on that? Nigel Farage. So there you go, refucking the Greens. I often feel like, and I don't want to offend anyone who's watching this who's a big Green supporter, but here's the way they come across to people like me. They seem to be like posh conservatives who actually care about the environment, and that's the only difference.
There are conservatives who do.
Yes.
There are conservatives who do.
Yeah, they're in the Green Party.
Noisy at the moment. No, they're not very noisy at the moment.
Yeah, yeah.
Just like the ones who were against Brexit. The Conservatives against Brexit, I haven't seen them for years. They've been hounded out, haven't they?
The Conservatives against Brexit.
There was a group, Conservatives against Brexit.
Oh, yeah, I remember them. They were very posh.
Yeah, they're not around anymore. Well, the Conservatives,
Yeah, they've joined the Greens, mate. They're joining the Greens.
Possibly, I don't know.
Honestly,
they're certainly not in the Conservatives anymore.
No offense, I've got mates who are Greens, and they're all rather posh, Phil. They're all like they say they're alls in Bath and things like that. You know?
Okay.
So
that's not just being South Southerner though. To be fair.
Well, yeah, all Southerners sound the same to me. Is that racist? I don't know. But yeah, we got MZ saying was considering cancelling my Netflix the other day since hardly watch it these days because of YouTube. Dubbing, that would be fun. Capital letters. No, I hate dubbing. I don't want dubbing.
It's a box. Dubbing. You'll be able to not tick it.
As I haven't got,
unfortunately.
As an artist who's worked making
videos
videos for over 25 years, I can't stand it.
Let's have a look. So I've got viewers mostly in the UK. Obviously, I've got some in the United States and Canada and Ireland. But I've got viewers, a significant number of viewers in Germany, Australia. Actually, they speak a little bit of English, don't they? The Netherlands, the Dutch speak every language on earth. I don't know how they have so many languages in their head.
You know when the original Mad Max was released in America in 1979, I think. They dubbed the Australian voices into American accents so that the Americans could understand what the Australians were saying in English.
It's like the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Yes.
So that was all dubbed because the actors were all like Italian and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So hence spaghetti western. They were dubbing all of that stuff. They were speaking in Italian.
Yeah.
And then they were having to think.
Well, apart from Clint Eastwood.
They were having to think of lines that would fit the mouth movements that would sort of say something similar because it didn't really work. So they were coming up with all sorts of weird. I watched a documentary at one time. It's like there was no thought in advance of what to say, so they had to, after they'd already recorded it all, worked out what these extras would have to be saying that would sort of match the mouth movements and make sense.
Great movies, though.
Oh yeah, I love those three movies.
Midas Touch in USA do use AI to dub the Mexican president's speeches. The AI voice, that woman's AI voice. Hey, I am the AI voice. And it's like it goes up, and it's just it's terrifying. I don't know why I find dubbing terrifying. I don't know why it haunts my nightmares. It just does. I think that's like one of those Black Mirror episodes where everyone's like badly dubbed, and the mouths don't.
I don't know. I used to watch
what they're saying, because
when I was a teenager.
When
I was a teenager and learning German, I used to watch German telly, and I would watch the shows that I knew. Like I would watch Quantum Leap in German and Popeye and stuff like that because I'd sort of know in Quantum Leap I used to watch, so I sort of knew what they were saying anyway. So it helped me because that was dubbed into German, so I used to just watch that. Stuff like that.
No, the Germans love to dub everything, which annoys the Danish because they're like, I can't speak German. Can you just give us subtitles, please? Make my life so much easier, because you got a lot of Danish people who know English. So if it was in English, they'd be
the Danes I've known, it may be just the younger generation, but the Danes I played like games with, online games, a long time ago now, all used to say they hate it because some of them would like come to Britain just like, and they'd hate it when people tried to be nice, like on a business meeting and speak a bit of Danish. It's like, can we speak English? We hate Danish.
Yeah.
It was described to me as like speaking with a mouthful of cocks. So this was by Danish people. I don't know whether it's the younger generation that have this view, but the people I knew who I played online games with that were Danish didn't like Danish. They preferred speaking English.
Well, the thing with Danish is you get a Danish dictionary. It's like this thick. It's because they only have one word for a lot of things. So in English, you got a thesaurus. You got like a whole range of different words you can use to mean the same thing. Whereas in Danish, it's dog, cat,
Yeah.
city. You know, you can't put it any other way. And so, yeah, I can see if you want to be a bit more flowery with your language, a little less direct, English works quite well. But Danish is all right. It's got a little line through the O. It's all good. Ivan, thank you very much for the £10 super chat, my friend. It's a work in progress with my YouTube channel. It's soul destroying at times. Do I have to do it for money for it to be successful? I can't do it for money as it would affect my entitlement for benefits. No, just do it for fun then. Don't think
You do
of
it for fun. Wait
then,
till your views are such that when you turn the adverts on, you won't need benefits.
Yes.
Do it that way.
Yeah.
You can build up without monetizing it.
But I can understand why it can be soul destroying when you spend so long making a video and then you get hardly any views on it. My advice for you is just try not to spend so much time making the video. So if it doesn't get that many views, you're not that bothered.
Well, you just have to, every video, I mean, the Mr. Beast advice is after every video, you work out one thing you can do better and then do that for the next video and just keep doing that every video. Which of course then means you don't try and put one out every day or something. You put one out every week or something. And try and think of one thing you can do better.
That's a good idea. I've written that down. Alex the Sixth. Thank you very much, Alex V1, for the £5 super chat. Phil, have you heard any further about the parliamentary group for PR? They've gone silent? ?
I mean, they haven't gone silent. They're obviously not going to be promoted much. So they were all over that debate. There was another debate on PR where Reform remembered that they were pro-PR that time. Richard Ty spoke in favour. But I mean, the groups like that, they exist. They exist for several reasons, I suppose, but mostly they exist to try and persuade their parliamentary colleagues. So they don't need to be. They're not the group that's supposed to provide the big public campaign. That should be for a non-partisan group, like Electoral Reform Society or someone like that, or Make Votes Matter, who are probably a bit more successful. Their job is to work on other MPs. So I will never have any idea how they're really doing on that front. But no, I saw them jumping on the back of that last debate. When was it? Last week or something? Yeah. On PR that came up.
Yeah. But there's a part of me that doesn't want to give Reform what they want. What about that?
No, the thing is, I'm not actually convinced Reform want it. They just say they do because it makes sense, right? Absolutely. It would be massive benefit to us if they had it. They would have people say, oh, but they'll get MPs. Yeah, they'll be on the opposition benches forever. Whereas, if we don't, if what happens in Canada in the 90s happens here, Reform UK will be in government in 10, 15 years' time. They will. They won't be in government as Reform UK, but they will be in government because they'll have merged with the Conservative Party. If what happens in Canada happened here, and why wouldn't it? I'm not saying it's guaranteed to happen, but why wouldn't it happen? It happened in one place under the same circumstances. I see no reason why it wouldn't happen here. So, and then they are in government because that merger will be a Tory party that thinks like Reform UK.
That's really not good.
No, and that is what's going to happen. And that'll be first past the post that does that. But PR would keep them on the opposition benches because no one would form a if they got really big one election, then you'd see what happens in the Netherlands, where Wilders, okay, is in government. Is he leading the government? No. And also he's had to tone down some of his bullshit to actually get into that coalition, hasn't he? And that's what PR does.
Drags people to the centre.
Or at least to moderate from wherever they happen to be. So, and that's what happens. It's but with first past the post, you can have a narrow interest group that represents one extreme or the other, but most likely the right wing extreme, because that's where most of the money is, and where most of the brains, unfortunately, is.
Well,
not in the parties, but no, the people behind them. I don't mean the people who lead them. Yeah. They're the plebs. They're the ground truth. That's like judging, Julius Caesar's genius by the behaviour of a legionnaire. They're the Tory MPs are just the ground troops. It's the people behind them.
Yeah, they know what they're doing. They're evil and competent, which is always a deadly combination. At least,
and that's the thing. You
Trump
go back.
And Musk, they're evil and incompetent.
Really but they've got brains behind them. And that's the thing, like you said earlier about, creating this situation where people are massively contented with regular politics. And why is that? Why are people not happy with established politics? Because they see the wealth is going upwards. And who benefits from going, well, we don't like established politics, so we'll vote for this extreme option? The people who want the wealth to go upwards, because those are the people like Trump. Trump is, and this is why, like, it's absolutely maddening what's going on in America. It's like, the billionaires have too much money. They're screwing the rest of us over. We're being screwed over. We'll vote for a billionaire who will make a government of billionaires. That'll deal with it. I don't understand how a line of thinking can go that way. Someone showed me something on Twitter today. It's a YouTube video from a 1 million plus subscriber political commentator in America, and he's commenting on a video from a farmer in America. You know what's happened to this farmer in America?
Yeah, he's lost his farm.
The Republic is going to lose his farm, he reckons.
Because the subsidies have been taken away, and he's not blaming Trump.
It's absolutely insane. Like he said, they did this thing, right? For like, you need to do all this stuff. We'll give you money for managing the land. So, fencing and stuff like that, all of this stuff to maintain the quality, the integrity of farmland for future years. And he's bought all this stuff, and then he's just got a call from the government saying, you've got this contract with us, but we're tearing the contract up. We don't give a shit.
Yeah. And he's blaming the government, not Trump. He's a Trump voter. He's a Trump voter. He's like, look, the government's done. If only the person in charge of it was Trump.
And it's like, and it's that level. And I just think we're not that bad in this country, but a lot of people are. But if we just had PR, they'd be on the opposition benches forever, because people would be able to change the government without opting for an extreme. And it's not to say you never get some extremes, but like I said, like in the Netherlands, they had to be moderated. You look at Maloney in Italy, and they don't even have, people say, they have PR. They don't really have PR. It's first past the post for the bulk of their stuff, but they have some PR. But even she's had to be a bit more moderate than she would otherwise be. But if you had a proper it wouldn't be full PR, but representative, no first past the post.
Yeah.
So top-up system with transferable vote for your constituency MPs, and then PR. If you just had that, just get rid of first past the post elements of it at every level, and Reform UK. Yep, they would have because there's probably a good 20% of people are like that. They want that, and they can have their MPs. Why shouldn't they have representation? They can have 20% of the seats. I don't want them having 50% or 60%. Or 70%.
Good point. We got one last super chat in from number 3. Thank you very much. Saying partisan politics is a problem, poor design, but you're always going to change it. Yeah, you're always going
you are always going to have it, because an organised group of politicians will always do better than individuals.
Yeah. So what I'm thinking, right? If we had a collaboration, because we're talking about how we communicate this stuff and get through to people. I think one of the main things is that we have to be entertaining, not necessarily on our own politics channel, but just. There's a group of us working together, cross-platform stuff as well. We need to have stuff where it's like a motor channel where they talk about cars, or like a gaming channel where they talk about the latest video games, but they are part of the left-wing agenda, name of the show. They'll put stuff in there. I hate Jeremy Clarkson, and by extension, I'm not very fond of James May, but this week they both had a go at Brexit, saying how shit it was, and it's like. We need more of that, because they're people, they've got followers who aren't into politics, and that might be the only political news that they take that day, is the fact that one of their heroes is against, the person who delivers the best amount of entertainment is actually anti-Brexit. So I think that would really help. I was thinking we could have a panel show like QI, because everyone likes to feel like they're a bit smarter than they actually are. So people watch QI because they're like, and then they can interrupt conversations, go, well, actually, the Earth doesn't go around the sun. It goes around this point. And so we could have like a panel show called The Week in Bullshit. And basically we're presented with something that the Tories or Refuck have said, and we just make jokes and rip it apart. Make it entertaining.
So basically the troll.
Yes. But no, it's a panel show. So you win points. Like, Have I Got News for You meets the troll. Meet QI.
No, I would do it more like 8 out of 10 cats. Does count
8
now.
out of 10 cats. Yes.
And then you want a Sean Locke to just destroy everything.
Yes. Yeah,
All
we
right.
need to resurrect Sean Locke. Oh,
Yeah.
rest in peace. Anyway, so heading off now. Thank you very much for watching on this Valentine's Day. And thanks very much to Phil for giving us his time.
It's an anniversary today.
What's it the anniversary of?
It's the 20th anniversary of YouTube.
Ooh. Well, that's exciting.
And it was, and the reason why they have their anniversary on Valentine's Day is because they originally intended as like a dating site.
Oh, really?
And then people posted pictures of cats, and it's like, oh, this is even better.
That's interesting, isn't it? Like the law of unintended consequences, because Facebook started as a thing for ranking how hot women were.
Yeah.
Nice little lovely bit of misogyny there from Fuckerberg. But I joined in September 2006, so I've had this channel now for nearly 19 years. That's insane. That is absolutely insane. Oh, 19 years before that point, the internet didn't exist. No one had a computer. No one had a mobile phone.
Oh, someone must have done, because I watched that film in the 80s, War Games. But we didn't. We didn't.
You used tic-tac-toe to defeat the nuclear threat.
Yeah.
That's what we're going to do with AI. We're going to just make it go crazy by asking daft questions until it goes, oh, fuck this, and self-destructs.
It doesn't, though, does it? Because we've tried it with Alexa. My wife and I tried it with Alexa. She just goes, I don't know the answer to that.
Oh, damn it.
Sometimes she'll say it even when we ask a sensible question.
Does not
It's
compute.
irritating.
No flash photography.
Computer says no.
Computer says no.
In fact, it would at least be entertaining if that's what she said. Computer says no.
Do you ever say open the pod bay doors, Alexa?
No.
Do you ever say that? Say that after you've got Alexa. Ask her after we've done
I know
the
she's
show.
listening to us. I know that.
I'm going to
I
ask
make
her to
peace
open the
with
pod
that.
bay doors. Go on then. Is she listening?
She'll
now?
just say I can't answer. She'll just say I can't answer that.
No, go on. Ask
She
her.
does.
Ask her.
All right, I'll ask her. I'll tell
Go
you
on.
next week. She'll just say I can't answer that. That's what she
Open the
always
pod
does.
bay doors. That's what you need to say to you, Alexa.
All right, then.
Any fans of 2001: A Space Odyssey will get the gag. Right. Anyway, so thanks very much for watching. Thanks for the super chats. I'll be back at 9:30 tonight with the Friday Night Social Special Valentine's Edition. And until then, I'll say thanks for watching. Give us a like on the way out. Hello, good evening, welcome, and goodbye. Open the pod bay doors, Hal. Hal.